All right, let's try these. Now, this was false because it was true or false, true and false. So the whole thing was false. But what if I had the same thing with an or in between now?
True.
True or false, that's going to be true. So number 2 is true. What about this? Is 15 equal to 6? No, that's false. Well, 15 is equal, right, hold on. 15 is equal to 6 is false. But what is not false
It's true.
that's going to be true. So the whole thing evaluates to true. This can make it a little crazy after a while. Now, look at this one. 15 greater than or equal to 15. True or false?
True.
Oh, you've been doing ors this whole time in math. Doesn't this mean 15 greater than 15 or 15 equals 15? That's what that means, right?
Yeah.
So greater than or equal to, it's not greater than and equal to. You read this in math as greater than or equal to. It's greater than or it's equal to. It's one of the two. Can't be both. But it's one or the other, right? As long as it's greater than 15 or it's equal to 15, in this case it's equal, the whole thing's true. Good. What about this one here? 45 greater than 65?
False.
False. Or still false. What's false or false? False. But then the not makes it true. What about the last one? True or false?
False.
False.
False?
No, it's true.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
And greater than 3, yes.
Well, now there's parentheses, so we got to do an order of operations here.
Yeah.
Is 8 greater than 3?
Yes.
Yes. And is 4 less than 2?
No.
No, so that whole is false.
False.
Or is 4 greater than 77?
No.
That's also false. So what's false or false?
False.
False. So the whole thing's false. Good.
That's fun.
Oh, this one's fun. What does this print? So you know there's else ifs and else, so it's only going to print one thing. Yes? Because it's a cascading if else.
I'm going to say drive carefully.
So I've got temp is 95, is raining is true, and traffic jam is false. So those are my driving conditions. It's hot, and it's raining, but there's no traffic jam. That's according to the variables I have. So look at the first one. Is temp greater than 80?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And is it true that it's not raining?
No.
No. Is raining is true. Not true is false. Do you see how that reads? It
Yeah.
almost kind of reads like English. If temp greater than 80 and not is raining, okay, so that's not true, right? So is it going to print out? Nope. What does it do? It skips
Else.
and goes to the else.
Okay.
Else if. Is it raining
True.
or there's a traffic jam?
No.
But
it's one of
But it's an or. Is it one of those?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
raining. So what's it going to
Drive
print?
carefully.
Drive carefully. Is it going to go to the else now?
No.
It's going to skip over the rest.
It's not going to say to have a great day.
No, you just have to drive carefully. All right. Now, do you notice any else's here? There is no else's here. These are all ifs. So every single one of these is going to be evaluated. So what is this going to print out?
We're never ever good. That's just a horror story. Almost all of it.
Well, careful now. Remember the double equal sign looks to see if it's the same variables. And I will tell you, case sensitivity matters.
So would it be
It would skip the third one.
would skip all the way down to the fourth one.
Now, remember, these are all if statements. These are no, so every single one of them is going to get evaluated. There's no else's. These are all separate, independent if statements. We're not all too old to get the Taylor Swift references here, right? We all get that.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Is it going to print out "We are never ever"?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it?
No.
No, that test to see
No.
is name the same variable. It does
Oh,
not
'cause
test
it's not dot
content.
equals.
Name is a double. Remember, we don't use double equal sign for string. The only time name would equal double equal sign would be true is if name double equal sign name.
Yeah.
right? If I'm testing the
Yeah.
exact same variable, remember we don't use double equals so it's not going to print we are never ever. What about does name dot equal singer?
Yes.
That's going to compare the letters individually, and they do equal each other.
Can you go back to why it's not gonna do we are never ever?
Because name and singer are two separate variables.
Even though they're both TAYLOR.
Correct, but the double equal sign only looks for are they the exact same variable?
They're separate
Not
variables.
the value.
Not the values, it looks for the actual memory location. And that's why we say the double equal sign for strings is really a logic error. You really shouldn't be using that.
So if it was integers, that's a different story.
That's a different story. Ints,
Because-
booleans, doubles, we always use double equal sign, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Nope, always, yep. But for strings and really any object, we would
Okay.
use a dot equals method
Got it.
for that. So does it print go Chiefs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is because you use dot equals. What about, is it gonna print shake it off?
No.
No, because name doesn't equal lowercase Taylor and name doesn't equal capital Taylor, so it doesn't print shake it off. Is it gonna print out it's a love story?
Yes.
Yes.
Singer.
Well,
Yes.
does singer equal the word Taylor? Yes, capital T, that's true, right?
Yes.
And is the length of
Yes.
singer, oh, this goes back to last time. Yes, remember, how many letters are in singer, in the value of singer? Taylor. There is 6. They're numbered 0 through 5, but there are 6 letters. The length is 6.
Yep.
So both of those are true. It will print out, it's a love story, baby just say yes. It won't print out baby just say yes, but.
So it's a go chief and it's a love story.
Now, yes, is it gonna print out, what about the next one?
Yeah.
Name dot substring 03 dot equals tay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, word dot, name dot substring is gonna be 0, 1, and 2, T-A-Y. And does that, so this is object dot method, tay. And yes, I knew you were trouble. From the moment that you walked in.
When you walk in.
When you walked in. Alright, they don't have Taylor Swift on the FT, they have boring questions like this. Now, this is actually a very common type of question.
Oh.
And there's a lot of these. This one says, now look at what, now this is not necessarily, it's Java-ish. Notice they don't say print line, they just say print. So you're gonna see a lot of pseudocode that looks like Java. In fact, they have an if and it says then print. It's not 100% real code, but could you get what this is trying to do?
Yeah.
That's what it's asking, okay. And it says, what was your score on the test, input score, and then we have a cascading if else, yes? What they're asking is, what would be the minimum set of numbers so that we test all 3, so that I get all 3 to print out? What would be 3 different values that I could input so that I would get it to do each one of my conditionals? So do you agree I would need something greater than or equal to 90?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would then also need something between 75 and 90. And I would also need something that was less than 90.
75.
So the answer is not up. What happened to my
It's B.
circles? The answer is B. 90, 80, and 70. Yes? Yes.
If we could go back to the previous one real quick.
Yes.
So I know you said 0, 1, and 2
Correct.
for tape, but then that one says 3. So what
That's where
is?
Because remember, so the first number is where I start.
Yeah.
The last number is the first letter I don't want.
Oh, okay.
Strings aren't, they don't terminate, they're not inclusive.
Right,
Ah.
so it's not exactly. It's not. It's, so it starts
The beginner
0, 1, and
is
2, but don't give me 3 to the end.
Got it.
So when I say 0, 1, it gives me like the letter 0, but doesn't give me 1 to the end. That's why it gives me 1 letter and say 0, 1.
So now that makes sense.
Yeah, cool. All right, so there was a lot of these on like what numbers would test all your different branches, and as long as you know what makes them true, you could get a set of data that would test that.
So, because I'm a super literal minded
Sure.
individual, so when it says select the minimum set of data, It is not asking for what would be the minimum numbers that would fit that, it's just asking for a set that would fit.
When it says
Like
minimum set, it means the
three.
smallest
The
set.
fewest numbers.
It meant the smallest set, the fewest number of values is
So
what
it
it's
is-
asking for.
Right.
Okay, cause like I went looking for 90, 75, and 74, because like my brain was like, that
Sure.
is what would fit
The
in the minimum.
smallest values that would
Right,
do it,
okay.
but it's when it says the minimum set, it's looking for the smallest group of numbers.
Okay,
Meaning the number of values in my group, in my set,
alright,
as opposed to the set of minimum data values, right?
okay.
What about this one? This says, hey, we're determining if the user input is in the requested range. And there's something wrong with this. So remember, one of the questions might be evaluate. This says, type a number from 1 to 100. And then I have a statement there. If number is greater than 1 or number is less than 100, print it's in the correct range. That's wrong. What should the if statement say? It should not say if number is greater than 1 or number is less than 100. What should it say? Now again, they're using less than or equal to, greater than or equal to's and stuff as well.
Should be
And they
greater
use the
than
word
or
and or.
Greater than or
Instead.
equal to 1 and then less than or equal to 100?
Yeah.
Yeah, greater than or equal to 1
Or.
and
And,
No.
less than or equal to 100. It's got to be both.
yeah,
Because what if it was or?
Oh,
What if I typed in 700? 700 is greater than 1. Or it doesn't matter. I already got greater than 1. So in order for it to be in the range, it has to be greater than this and less than or equal to 100. And inclusive meaning or equal to, right? I'm going to need that.
Okay.
Everybody good here?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I got tricked too.
Me
This is one of two. The first thing is called Magic 8 Ball. Remember Magic 8 Ball, where you get a number and it gives you a bunch of things. This is kind of like the Richter problem. It's in CS Awesome. And this is all about Boolean expressions and if statements. I highly recommend the multiple choice. Magic 8 Ball is one of the assignments up there. It's going to ask you to generate a random number between 1 and 8, and then check that number and print out one of 8 statements, and you can make up whatever 8 statements you want to print out. I gave you a hint here. This is how we do. We talked a little bit about math.random. How do I get a number between 1 and 8? I multiply it by 8, because remember, I don't know if you remember from last time, it gives us a number from 0 and 1. And then I multiply it by 8, and then that gives me a number from 0 to 7 when I cast it in. But if I add 1, it gives me a number between 1 and 8.
Yep.
So that's not really as important as the idea of you're writing an if statement to check if random number is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, and have 8 different, like Magic 8 Ball statements like, the answer is unclear,
The
or
outlook is clear.
absolutely, or ask again tomorrow.
Go girl.
Go girl, that's one of them too, yeah, some of those. All right, good here so far?
Yes.
All right, okay, we just power through?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that was if statements. If statements and booleans, the last thing we're talking about is loops. Loops is a way of repeating statements over and over again. For examples, you put a song on your music player or your phone, and it keeps repeating that song over and over again. Shampoo instructions: lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, you never leave the shower. That's another thing. Or while your house is dirty, what should you keep cleaning it? When are you gonna stop cleaning it? When it's no longer dirty. OCD you are,
that's if you have
but
children.
you know, well, that's true. Then it never ends. All right. So here's what a while loop looks like. A while loop is not an if statement while something is true. So it's a Boolean expression just like we've been doing, except, and I've got a bunch of statements. So what this does is this. It checks you, when you start your while loop, it checks your Boolean expression. If it's true, well then it does all the stuff and then goes back up and say, hey, am I still true? Yep. Then do a whole bunch of statements. Is it still true? Yep. Then keep doing it. Eventually, hopefully, that Boolean expression will be false, and then I exit and continue on with my program. Yes?
Would there be any tests regarding flowcharts?
So, you don't have to write them, but sometimes they might structure something like, here's a question involving a flow chart.
Okay, so like this one explains.
Something like that where you can just follow through.
Okay.
Yep. Let me show you some examples here. So another way they also do this, because like, well, how is it going to eventually be false? Well, a lot of times we have something called the loop control variable, something that gets initialized it is evaluated, and then somewhere in here, it gets updated. So eventually, it's no longer true that my condition is, because I'm eventually gonna get to that conclusion where my while statement will no longer be true. Let me show you some examples here. Oh, that's what these three are. So for instance, this. I have a value that I set equal to the number 1. While my value is less than or equal to 5. Is value less than or equal to 5 to start out?
Yeah.
It is. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna print out value. What's it gonna print out?
One.
It's gonna print out a 1. Oh, but then look, I update value, plus plus. Now what's value? 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 5?
Yep.
Yep, so it's gonna print out 2. Now what's value? 3.
Three.
Is 3 less than or equal to 5?
Yep.
Print out 3. Value's now 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 5?
Yep.
Yep. Print out 4. 5. Is 5 less than or equal to 5?
Yes.
Yes. So it prints out 5. Now what's value?
Six.
6. Is 6 less than or equal to 5?
No.
No. So it falls out and prints out finished. It initialized my loop control variable. I checked it in evaluation, and I updated it. So when I ran this code, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I printed finished.
So the curly bracket is what you say go back up to the top?
Yes, I do the entire block, and then I go back up.
Instead of going back up.
Yep.
Now, would that work without the curly braces around system?
Because then the value plus plus would not be in the loop, and it would just print out 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 over again. Because if you didn't have curly braces, only one statement would be in. Value plus plus would be outside of the loop, and it would just keep printing out 1 over and over again, and I would never hit that value plus plus statement. So there's a reason why curly braces are good, because you're going to group that code together. What is this going to print out? Starts out at 5. Is number less than 100? Yep. So it prints out 5. And then what does number plus equal 5 do? Adds 5. So now it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. What's the last number it's going to print?
95.
95.
Because 95 is less than 100.
Yep.
But is then 100 less than 100? Nope. So it prints out 5 to 95. Yeah. Yes, or it prints it out because I print out number in a space, all in print. Here's a while loop-ish. They did a while and it's pseudocode, but it says if n equals 5, which of these will print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? I put this one up here because it's a little tricky. Like, let's do A together. Count is 1. Is count less than 5? Yes, so it's going to print out count. And then, so it's going to print out 1. And then count equals count. Now count is 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yep. Is 3 less than 5? Yep. 4 is less than 5. Is 5 less than 5? It prints out 5. But then, when count gets to 6, it's not going to print out 6. So it's only going to print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So A is not correct. See how that works?
Yep.
So which one is it?
D.
What do we think?
D.
D, look at a little tricky, because look what it does first. Count is 0. But what's the first thing it does? Add 1 and then print it. So it prints out a 1. And then it prints out when it's less than 5. When it's 5, it's going to make it 6 and then print out 6. There's my circle. Yes, D is the answer.
Now, how is that different than B, other than one starts at 1 and one starts at 0?
Nothing. So B is going to end up printing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it won't print out a 1. You're correct, that's the only difference, but that difference means it's not going to print out the number 1 first.
And,
B prints out 2 to 6.
and C won't print out 6.
C won't print out 6, correct.
But it'll give
5
us,
is not
In
less.
fact, it'll only print out 1 through 4.
yeah.
Because the difference between A and B is the less than or equal to.
Right, and then the code lines are switched. It doesn't
Yep.
say count equals count plus 1.
Yep, exactly right. Cool. All right, that's a while loop. A for loop is so much better.
Yeah.
You don't need to have that start off somewhere, while condition, and then somewhere in there, I hope I updated my variable to make it so it ends, otherwise I got an infinite loop. A for loop says, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put all that stuff in one line. Start out, initialization, while my Boolean expression is true, update my variable, and then do all my statements. Let me show you what this looks like.
What's the initialization?
So here's, I start out, I set a variable equal to something. So notice, here's a for loop, x equals 1. While x is less than or equal to 5, do all my stuff,
Add one.
and then what does x plus plus do? Add 1. So what is this going to print out? I've got my initialization, my Boolean check, my while condition, right? And then my update. And so what is this going to print? When x is 1, is 1 less than 5? Yep. Then do x plus plus, prints out 2, prints out 3, prints out 4, prints out 5.
So much easier.
It's so compact and you don't have to worry about screwing things up. Like forgetting your curly braces or whatever.
But int doesn't stand for initialization.
No, it stands for integer, correct. I'm initializing my integer. That's, I know. All right, what are these going to display?
And you have to have the space between for and the parentheses.
No, you can put it all together just for readability. I put it out there so you can read it. This is going to print out what? 0 through 9. Yep. Ooh, yeah, what's this one going to print out? It's going to print out 1, then 2, 4. Well, after 4, it prints out 8, 16, 32, 60. Y equals y times 2. That's my update. Update doesn't always count by 1. So what are my values of y going to be? Y is 1. Is 1 less than 100? Yep.
Yeah.
Y equals y times 2. So it's going to be 2. Then what's 2 times 2? 4. 4 times 2? 8. Then 16. Then 32. Then 64. And then 128 is not less than 100. So it stops after 64.
What did you say the first one should be?
This one?
Yeah, should
0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Shouldn't it print x plus?
Oh,
It's a
well,
press-
X, I mean the
zero
number
versus zero.
plus a space. I just was putting in space, kind of like I did here. Like I just did number plus the space. It would just print out the number plus a space after it.
Oh,
All
I
in
see.
line.
Okay.
So that was just, I was
And it goes up to
concatenating
9.
it with a space.
And that's just for visibility.
For
Because
visibility purposes.
if
yeah.
not, it will look like one giant number.
Exactly. Alright. Good here?
Yeah.
Alright. How about this? What if I have a word and I'm printing out, now I'm looping from 0 to the length. So let's say the word is 10 letters long. What is substring 0, I plus 1 going to print out? So first of all, it's going to be 0, 1, and then it's going to be 0, 2, then 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, right? And what about this? I plus 1. I've got this in code. Let me show you. I'm just going to pull it up here so we can see it in code here. So this is print letter. So this is the first one. I've got a word quadrilateral. Just that's a great word. I'm going to print out 0, I plus 1. So it's going to be 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5. What's going to happen to my words? I'm going to print out Q bigger and bigger and bigger. Right?
Adding one letter.
Adding one letter each time. What is this going to print out though? I plus 1. So it's going to be 0, 1, but then 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. It's going to print one letter at a time.
Oh.
So make it acrostic almost.
So let's run this. Let's see what we got. So here is the first loop. It prints, does everybody see that? That's my first loop, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6. Oh yeah, this one prints out 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Remember, a number, comma, 1 after it always prints out one letter. And it just goes down and it prints all these letters out. Play around with that. I put that up there for you in eCampus. That one's there as well. Yeah, it's one little change like that, and one little change prints out Instead of 0, I plus 1, I plus 1, I went from building a pyramid to building just individual letters. Couple last things here. Nested loops. A loop inside of a loop. There is